friends, it's Sophia. I'm here, I'm back. I know 2 videos within the span of a couple months, 2 videos in the span of a year. Who am I? Anyway, I'm so glad to be here. I'm a little annoyed because I just spent like 20 minutes talking and my camera didn't record, so we're doing take 2. But today I wanted to do just a fun tattoo tour video. I've been watching a lot of videos from Treacle Tats lately. I watched her before I started getting tattoos, and then I didn't subscribe, and so I kind of forgot that she was making content, and then I stumbled across her recently, and she did a tattoo tour, which is very popular. Not recently, but she did a tattoo tour, and I was reminded, oh yeah, these videos exist on YouTube. So, especially since I just got my 9th tattoo a couple weeks ago now, I wanted to do a video showing off the tattoos that I have so far, kind of talking about my experiences getting tattooed, any of the meaning behind my tattoos, shouting out the artists that did them, all of that jazz. So how this video is going to work is I'm going to talk you through my tattoos. I'll start with the oldest and work through to the newest one that I just got a couple weeks ago. And while I'm talking about it, I'll put clips on screen of me showing off what the tattoo looks like now. I'll also show you photos of when the tattoo was first done, if I still have them at all. And I'll talk about any issues that came up with getting the tattoos done. And I'll also tag the artists because they are still around. So if you guys are in British Columbia or in one case in France, you can go check them out and see if you want to get a tattoo done by them, because I've had honestly nothing but positive experiences with my artists, but I will say I did thoroughly research them first. So before I get into talking about the tattoos that I have, I'll briefly touch on kind of my philosophy with getting tattoos, like how I like to get mine done, any pointers that I have for anyone who might be thinking about getting tattoos done. I'm by no means an expert, and I would also not consider myself heavily tattooed. So I'm sure there's things that I don't know about that will come up later as I get more tattoos, because I do plan to get a couple more at least at this point. But at least from what I've experienced, when I was first deciding to get tattoos, I had a very clear and particular vision for how I wanted my tattoos to look. And although I would say maybe the style of the drawings of my tattoos has evolved over time, I've, adopted slightly different illustrative styles. They have all remained consistent, at least in terms of all being black and white exclusively. And I felt really strongly about having black and white tattoos, or black and gray. I do have some white ink, because I was worried about how it would look with certain outfits. And if it's going to be part of my body, if I'm choosing to have it be part of my body, then I didn't want to get a really bright, colorful, illustrative tattoo, or a traditional tattoo, for example, and then in a lot of color, and then feel like it didn't, the colors in the tattoo didn't look nice with whatever I was wearing. So that was a personal choice that I made. Not to say that you can't get color tattoos, you totally can. There's lots of artists that do really incredible color tattoo work, and they look great on other people, but just not for me. So that was one decision that I consciously made very quickly. Also, I did not want to get any script tattoos. I don't have any script tattoos. I have an element of one of my tattoos that comes kind of close, but it's not really a script tattoo. And the reason for that is because I wanted the tattoos that I have to be able to stand by themselves as pieces of art and not be dependent on what's written in them, if that makes sense. A big concern of mine was that as I aged, my relationships with my family will change, with my friends will change, and I didn't want to get a tattoo that was strictly stuck to those people, that could only be read as being about those people in my life. If things did suddenly change, not that I anticipate any of that happening with the tattoos that I have for people in my life, but I just want to keep that in mind. I didn't want it to be permanently tethered to that particular person in that way. It can still look good as a piece of art on its own. And then finally, I also don't have any tattoos that are tied to pieces of media. This might change because I have pondered getting a Lord Huron tattoo in the past. And that's mostly because the band is really important to me personally. Like, I love their music, but also it's been a bonding point for me and my dad. So I have considered doing that, but I have not committed to it. And the reason that I don't want to get anything like that at this point is because, you know, we're always finding out about like artists who are problematic in different ways, or your music tastes change. And I just don't want to have that like permanently on me. So maybe at some point in the future, I'll find a piece of media that's really, really, you know, important to me and really like symbolic in that way. And I would consider getting a tattoo for it. But just right now, it's just not something that I want. So
hi there, editing Sophia here. Just wanted to mention that I also don't want hand or neck tattoos or anything on my face, and that's just an aesthetic preference.
with all of that said, let's get into talking about my tattoos and the order that I got them in and all that jazz. To start off with, let's chat about the first tattoo that I ever got, which was actually kind of big for a first tattoo. I think some people, when they get their first tattoo, they're like, oh, I'll go small and see if I like it. I was like committed. I had a very clear vision for this tattoo. I thought about it for a long time. I had been thinking about getting this, I think, since like high school probably. I don't even remember when the first idea of this tattoo came to me, but certainly I was thinking about wanting to get like body modification done since I was like 14 in some way. Like I wanted to stretch my ears at that time, and then I wanted to get a nose piercing, which as you can see, I have 2 nose piercings now. I got my second lobe pierced here because my mom wouldn't let me get nose piercings at the time. So I've always been interested in this sort of like body modification for a while. Piercing, tattoos, everything like that. And so when I turned 18 and I was able to move out and come here to university, I wanted to get a tattoo. Like I knew for a fact that I wanted to. And I researched my artist a lot. And I really recommend doing that when you're looking to get a tattoo. Really look into your artist, look at their portfolio, look at their past work, see if you like their style, because chances are whatever they've done in the past is what they're going to do on you. So anyway, I wanted to get this tattoo for my mom, which is actually kind of funny because she's pretty squeamish about tattoos and doesn't really love them. But I was like, I'm going to get my first tattoo for you. So this tattoo is just a bundle of flowers. It's a fine line tattoo. And I will say I have had it touched up because that's kind of the nature of fine line tattoos. And I think that I do want to get it touched up again soon in the future because some of the like shading and some of the detail work inside of the flowers and everything like that is not really aged super well. It hasn't stuck, which is kind of to be expected with fine line tattoos. But anyway, this tattoo has a lot of symbolic importance to me. When I was a kid, we used to have a lot of dandelions that would grow in our backyard, and I would make crowns out of the dandelions. And so my mom made this whole story about how I was Sophia, queen of the dandelions, which I just thought is so cute. So the tattoo is a bundle of dandelions and also some other plants that are native to the city that I grew up in, including sagebrush, and I'm not sure what one of the other flowers is, but I just told my artist to pick flowers that were from here, or like plants or whatever. I was pretty picky about the elements in this tattoo. Like when I first got there, she showed me the tattoo. I didn't see it before I actually got to the studio, and I saw that my artist had drawn like jagged like dandelion leaves, and I was like, oh, can we just change it to different leaves? And she was like, okay. It wasn't a big deal. But I just say that because today I would just be like, oh, whatever. It's great. But you know, when you've never gotten a tattoo before, you understand the gravity that this is permanent. You really want to like think about it and think really deeply about it, which I don't think is a bad thing. And not to say that I don't think about the permanence of my tattoos now, but I don't think about the decision as being as weighty as getting your first tattoo when you have none, as opposed to adding a tattoo to your body when you already have quite a few.
Hi there, editing Sophia here again. Listen, I just want to pop in and say that the artist that did my first tattoo and later did my knee tattoo has subsequently changed their name and changed their pronouns. In this video, I accidentally referred to them by the incorrect pronouns. They use they, them pronouns now and z, them, zero pronouns now. So I just wanted to apologize to Knox. I'm really sorry. I wasn't thinking when I was recording this video, and I didn't realize the mistake until after. So yes, please do not use she, her pronouns with this artist. They do not use them anymore. Okay, thank you.
The issue that I really had with this tattoo was nothing to do with the design, nothing to do with the quality of the artist's work, but just kind of more the nature of how fine line tattoos are. And I did know this going into getting the tattoo, but the artist used a single needle in some areas, and I don't think I really anticipated how, like, that was not going to stay, like, how quickly it was not going to stay. So if you're looking into getting a fine line tattoo, I would not tell you to, I would not necessarily recommend against it. I have one. I love mine. But I would just say to be aware of the fact that, you are going to have to get it touched up. Like, when you get the style of tattoo, it's not a maybe, it's a definitely, to make sure you're setting aside money for that. And also, if you can have a chat with your artist about using a single needle, and see if there's any alternatives that they can do to be able to get the detail work and the shading done and everything like that, because if you just use a single needle, it's not going to stay. I mean, this tattoo is only, like, not even 4 years old. I got it in December 2021, but today I would still need to go back and get it touched up again. There were some areas that I wanted to get touched up, but at the time that I was doing the touch-up, I didn't speak up about getting it touched up, and now I wish that I did, because now it's faded even more than it was even at that point. I think I wanted to get a fine line tattoo because I was worried about, like, having something more heavy and looking like a tattooed person or looking heavily tattooed, which I didn't really want to have that aesthetic. I don't want to look alternative. So that's why I think I gravitated towards that sort of thing, like very dainty. But now I've kind of, like, overcome that. So I have other tattoos that are not like that. So after I got my first tattoo, I really got the tattoo bug. And in 2022, I got, I believe, 5 tattoos, because it became, like, after my first one, it just kind of unlocked something in me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love how it looks. I really, really, really want to get more, because a big thing that I found as a consequence of getting tattoos that I wasn't necessarily expecting is that it made me a lot more confident in my body, because having artwork on me, I found kind of de-emphasized the parts of my body that I didn't really like as much, and turned your attention towards the artwork rather than, like, my stretch marks or, like, my cellulite. That's why I kind of went a little nuts in this year. But I don't regret any of the tattoos that I got, because they all have meaning or they serve a purpose in some way. The second tattoo that I got was actually Flash, which is funny. You might not expect someone to get Flash for their second tattoo, but I did. My first tattoo was custom, of course. But this piece I saw on tattoo artist's Instagram, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to have this. So it's a rhinoceros beetle, I believe, and it's a decent size. And I got a really good deal on it, actually, because my artist, like, drew it, and she really, really, really wanted to tattoo it. So I asked if I could have it resized bigger, and she said, I'll charge you the same price for getting it done, even at a bigger size. So I think this tattoo was only $300, which is, like, pretty incredible for a tattoo of this size. And we'll talk about, I have a much smaller tattoo on this arm that was more than $300, so we'll get to that. But anyway, this tattoo I got as, like, a symbol of strength and overcoming. Brief, like, content warning here, and I'll put this before I talk about another tattoo that I have that serves the same purpose. This is about, like, my mental health and self-harming, so if you're not in a headspace to hear that, I'll give you a timestamp so you can skip ahead. But any case, I got this tattoo because at the time I was cutting a lot on this thigh, and I wanted to put a piece of artwork here so that I would have a deterrent and also a symbol of strength, kind of as a promise to myself that I wouldn't keep doing it. Spoiler, I kept doing it, but currently I'm clean, which is great. But it just took more time than just getting this tattoo. This tattoo didn't fix it, of course. The only issue I had with this tattoo when it was healing is that you can kind of see it in like the lower jaw of the beetle. There's a spot where the ink is missing, and it's like that because when it was healing, I got a weird scab there. At this time, I had a couple of them at different spots in my thigh. I have no idea what they were, and they healed on their own. But I unfortunately got it in the middle of my tattoo, and I didn't touch it at all because I was like, oh my gosh, the ink's gonna come out. I didn't pick at it, but it fell off on its own, and unfortunately the ink kind of went with it. So I will definitely want to get that fixed at some point, but it's not a huge priority to me because the spot that it fell out, it almost looks like it's like the beetle's eye. And so I don't think it really detracts too much from the overall tattoo. So yeah, I'm not too fussed about it. But I think we can see, comparing this tattoo to my first tattoo, this is very much not a fine line tattoo. I got my first tattoo in late December, very late December of 2021. I got the second beetle tattoo in January of 2022, only like mid-January, so like maybe like as soon as my first one was healed, I got a second. And then very quickly afterwards, I got my third tattoo in late February of 2022. And this tattoo is a very simple meaning. It's my sister's birth flower. And it's on kind of like the inside of my left leg, like around my ankle. This is the first of 2 tattoos that I have that was meant to be a matching tattoo with the other person, but they have yet to get their half of the matching tattoo because we didn't get it done at the same time. So listen to you guys. If you want to get a matching tattoo with somebody, have them come to the studio with you to get it done at the same time. Now, you know, the tattoos are done in such a way that like it doesn't really matter that the other person hasn't gotten their half yet. Like I don't really care. You know, it's their body. They can do it if they want to. It's their prerogative. But it's just kind of funny how it's worked out. Any case, I really love the placement of this tattoo because when I'm wearing my Blundstones, as one does when you're from British Columbia, it kind of pokes out of the top of them and it looks like it's like sprouting out of my shoe, which I think looks really cute. I think the way that it's healed now looks very similar to how it was when it was first done. And I think that's kind of speaks to like this style of tattooing that this artist does. It's like dot work, black work, you know, she's not fine line, and it tends to hold a bit better than my fine line tattoo. So no shade to fine line tattoo artists, but I've just found this sort of thing works better for me. Okay, and then pretty soon after that, I got recommended to another tattoo artist on Vancouver Island from Soft Stabs Tattoos, who did my beetle tattoo and my Lily of the Valley tattoo. And she recommended me to go see Leopold at the Brass Iris tattoo studio in Esquimalt. And they did an excellent job with this little flash mushroom piece. This is the second tattoo that was supposed to be matching. My bestie was supposed to get a matching, or at least not the same tattoo, but a mushroom tattoo. And she hasn't, which is like, again, like I said, I literally don't care. So when I got this tattoo, I wanted to have one tattoo kind of on each limb. And this was my first tattoo on my left arm. So if you're following at home, my first tattoo was my right arm. My second tattoo was my right thigh. My third tattoo was my left leg, like ankle. And my fourth tattoo was like the side of my left arm. So we kind of did a big circle around my body with my tattoos. And this was just some flash. There's no particular meaning to it. It's really simple line work. And I think it took maybe like 30 minutes or something to do. So quick, easy, and it's held up pretty well. The only thing I will say is that some of the like little like bubbles, over time, they've kind of like bled into the center. So just like a word for anyone who's getting tattoos, if you're getting any 2 lines tattooed really close to each other, it's likely that over time they're going to bleed together. If that's going to be something that you're not going to like enjoy, then when you're getting your tattoo design back to you, like look out for that sort of thing, because it will look good when it's fresh, but it just won't look the same as it ages, which is fine, but just to be aware. Okay, and then very quickly afterwards, I went back to the same tattoo shop, not the same artist. I went to an artist named Iris, and she did this big orca piece on my left arm. And this tattoo was when I committed to having my left arm be Vancouver Island themed, which I have continued with. But this tattoo, I don't have like a particular symbolic attachment to orcas, but I just really love orcas. I just love all cetaceans. I think their evolution is so fascinating. How they were fish in the sea, and then they became mammals on land, and then they went to mammals in the sea. And their biology is so fascinating to me. Their social structure, their culture, how they mourn. All of that is just like, oh my gosh. I feel like orcas are really underappreciated. And after I watched the documentary Blackfish, that's really what sealed the deal for me on how incredible orcas are and how they deserve better treatment than what humans do to them. So that's why I got this tattoo. I just love orcas. I love all cetaceans. And I thought it fitting to put this sort of thing on my Vancouver Island themed arm. So, yeah, that's why I got this one. No other meaning really besides that. And this was a custom design, but I picked the artist because I saw that she had done a similar tattoo on somebody else. And so then she kind of reworked it a little bit so that she could do, a similar but not the same tattoo on me. So, and she did get permission from that other person, by the way, in case you guys were wondering. She messaged them and she was like, is it okay if I do this? And they said yes. And so here we are. So no ethical issues there. I don't go to tattoo artists that will copy because that's not very cool. So this tattoo has some fine line elements to it. I wouldn't say the whole tattoo is fine line, but because of some of those fine line elements, especially the details in the seaweed and the kelp, they haven't really stuck super well over time. And I will need to get this touched up more. I've been meaning to for some time. As it was healing, I noticed there was a few spots where like there's a spot where the lines connected a little bit weird. It doesn't really matter now because it was like a fine line sort of area, but now that like interior part has kind of faded out, like that detail. So I think that I'll want to go back and get somebody to redo it with a bigger needle. Or a bigger grouping of needles, really, because it just didn't stay the way that I was hoping that it would. So I got that orca tattoo in June, and then in September, I got my knee tattoo.
Hello, 'tis I once again. I keep barging in. I neglected to mention that this tattoo is a fern, not because my name on YouTube or other social media is Sophia Fern. Fern is actually a modification of my middle name, but I got a fern because I wanted to get like a nature motif that would be similar to the sort of things that you see on Vancouver Island and that would look good with the rest of my tattoos.
By the same artist that did my first tattoo. And this tattoo was easily my most painful tattoo ever. I think that if you know anything about tattoos, you know that joints are pretty bad. And I knew that this was gonna hurt, but I think that at this point I had several tattoos. And so I was kind of used to what the pain was gonna be like. Especially my first tattoo and my mushroom tattoo, they were kind of close to my wrist and my elbow in spots. And so I kind of felt like I had an idea of what that sort of joint pain would be like. And boy howdy, it's a whole different ballgame when all your tattooing is knee. It doesn't go over my knee, but it goes around my knee. And I think this was the only tattoo that I really wanted to tap out on. I almost cried getting this done. I had to take some breaks. And it's funny because it's one of my smaller tattoos that I have, but that's just kind of how it was. The one thing I will say, I do not regret getting this tattoo because it was covering up a self-harming scar. I wish that I had spoken up to the artist when she showed me the drawing, because again, I didn't see the drawing until I got there. And in my mind, I was picturing having a fern leaf that was longer and wrapped around my knee more. But the design she presented to me was this kind of stubbier fern. And I don't dislike it, but I feel like it kind of makes the rest of my leg look weird because I don't have anything else underneath on my knee on that side. So this was, I would say, the only tattoo that I got where after it was done, I had some like instant regret. I don't regret getting it because I think if someone took the tattoo away from me now, I would say, well, put it back. Like, it's serving a purpose. But I wish that when I had seen the design, I had spoken up and said, actually, I wish that, I was picturing doing a longer fern. Can you please, do that for me? But I was scared because, like, I was already there and I didn't want to take up more of their time. I was worried about what they would think. It's a people-pleasing thing. And if you're worried about people-pleasing with your tattoo artist, don't. Just say what you want to get modified and they'll do it for you. It's not a problem because once it's done, right? You can't take it back. Because of this tattoo, I do plan on getting another tattoo underneath my knee to balance it out, or potentially something on my shin. But I'm not very decided about that right now. I haven't really thought about it super deeply. And I think I want to wait until I have a clear idea for what exactly I would want to get done in its place before I do that. So then I got one tattoo in 2023, which is this like shell tattoo. I got this done at a tattoo convention in Lille when I was on an exchange there. Full transparency, 2023 was easily the worst year of my life. Easily. By a long shot. And I was not doing well mentally. It was really bad. I was in and out of hospital a lot. So I only got this one tattoo because I wanted to have a memory of being in France. And now if I think about it, it's kind of like, mixed emotions about going there because I was not in a good place personally, but I loved the country. I loved my exchange. I loved my experience of being in Europe, but I feel like I was not in a mental headspace where I should have gone. But then again, going there led to other life events that then in turn have led me to be where I am now. So, I'm like, what can I complain? It's a tattoo that's at a point in time in my life, right? This tattoo does not have any particular symbolic meaning. It was flash. And I got it again because it was shell themed. I wanted to go along with the Vancouver Island on my left arm, whole thing. So it fits in that way. But it was not a great time in my life, but I don't regret the tattoo. The tattoo is very well done, and it is by far my most expensive tattoo. This tattoo was 400 euros for pre-drawn flash, which will make anybody's eyes water if they get tattoos done in North America, because most tattoo artists now charge between, I see $160 to $200 an hour Canadian. And for flash, they usually have set prices of between, $150, $200 for flash, depending on the size. For the size of this piece, I would say in Canada, someone would probably charge $250 for it. But in France, 400 euros is like 600 Canadian dollars, or like 500 American, roughly. And so it was pretty steep. But I will also say, this tattoo has aged the best. Out of all of my tattoos, it still looks the most like it did when it was fresh, compared to my other tattoos that have faded more. And I don't say that to knock the artists who have done other work for me in Canada. They're incredible. I love my other tattoos. But I just wonder if there's some sort of secret sauce that the French tattooers have. And also to say that the price was worth it, because it has stuck and aged very beautifully. So I really don't have any complaints about this tattoo. And this tattoo was done by LB Tatouage. She's not from Lille, but the tattoo convention in Lille had artists from all over France coming. So it was a really cool experience to go to a tattoo convention. It was the only tattoo convention I've ever been to. And I have some interesting stories about that maybe I'll talk about some other time. But yeah, shout out to LB Tatouage. She did a really good job. And it was kind of funny when I was arranging to book the tattoo with her. My written French is not nearly as good as my spoken French. So I was using Google Translate a lot to get across the booking details and everything like that. And so when I got there for my appointment that I had at the convention, she was really worried that I didn't speak French very well at all, because she doesn't speak any English, of course. Most people in France don't speak English. And she was extremely relieved to learn that my spoken French is a lot better than my written French. And we could at least have a conversation, you know. There was maybe a slight language barrier, but for the most part, it was okay. So I think she was pretty happy about that. So that was the only tattoo that I got in 2023. As I said, worst year of my life. Didn't have the money or time or headspace to be getting more tattoos. And then in 2024, I also didn't get any tattoos, mostly because I didn't have money to get tattoos. I was just spending that year kind of like putting the pieces back together, I guess, and like working on myself and growing and everything like that, which was very much needed. So I didn't get any tattoos in 2024, but so far this year I've gotten 2 tattoos. So I'll talk about one of my other tattoos that I have. On my opposite thigh, this is the other one. I'm going to put a content warning out there. Discussion of self-harm, mental health issues. I'll put another timestamp for you guys so you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear about that. But this tattoo I got from Soft Stabs Tattoo, and I got it because, you know, she did my other beetle tattoo on my opposite thigh, and I wanted to get a matching beetle tattoo from the same artist, of course, on this thigh. So this tattoo, similar sort of idea. It was a custom design. I just kind of told her, like, the sort of beetle that I wanted. I gave her, like, a reference photo, I think, like a stag beetle. She loves bug tattoos, so she was very happy about getting this request. She's a big fan of tattooing this sort of thing. A lot of her flash is bug tattoos. It was a good match for both of us, and I thought her style lent itself very well to this sort of design. I got this tattoo because, as I said previously, I had been cutting and self-harming in other ways, but also cutting on my right thigh, and then I got this tattoo pretty early in my mental health journey, I would say. And then very quickly afterwards, I started cutting on my opposite thigh. And so this big beetle piece is to cover up all of the scars that I have on this thigh. The scars that I have are pretty light, at least. They're not like super visible. They're not super textured or anything like that, which is good. But you could still see them, and I was self-conscious about it. I was insecure about it. And I didn't like people looking at my self-harming scars and knowing immediately, oh, she has a problem with self-harming. Or, like, you know, they cut themselves, like that sort of thing. I didn't want people thinking that when they looked at my thighs when I was wearing shorts during the summer or whatever. So that's why I got this done. Mostly to, you know, it doesn't perfectly cover the scars, which is fine. But it kind of, like, de-emphasizes them, which is a really important thing for me. Again, this beetle has similar sort of meaning as the other beetle about strength and overcoming. And I also got this tattooed close to, not exactly at, but close to my 1 year of sobriety from self-harm. So that's really exciting. It's a really important tattoo to me. I feel very attached to it. And I will say, actually, the flower at the very bottom was free-handed in at the end. The majority of the design was stenciled, but then when we placed it on my thigh, I realized that there was a scar near my knee that it didn't cover. And so Danny from Soft Stabs Tattoo free-handed in this extra little bit, and I think it looks great. I think it looks, like, very natural, like it's supposed to be there. And I said, like, immediately after I got this tattoo done, I was like, I feel like my body is complete, like it's whole, like it feels like it's supposed to be there. It was such a wonderful feeling to see that tattoo finally done. So yeah, it means a lot to me. The only issue I've had in the healing process is, this is totally my fault. When I was healing it, I was a little too aggressive during the itchy phase with, like, tapping it. And I think some spots of ink came out, like, around the mandibles of the beetle. So there's a few small spots that I think I'll want to get, you know, zhuzhed up in the future. But overall, I haven't, you know, the tattoo looks great. And then finally, my most recent tattoo, which I am extremely happy with, is from Heart-Shaped Fruit is her artist name. Sydney is her first name. I got this done, like I said, just a couple weeks ago, June 20th of this year, in case you're wondering. And this tattoo is really personally meaningful to me. It's for my dad. So now I have a tattoo for my mom on my right forearm, a tattoo for my dad on my left forearm. I did not plan it that way when I first started getting tattoos, but it just kind of worked out like that. So I'm pretty pleased with myself that that's how it ended up happening. This tattoo fits in on my left arm with the whole Vancouver Island theme, like aesthetically, but I wanted this tattoo to be like a symbol of who my dad is as a person without sharing too much about him personally because he didn't consent to that. He's a very resilient person and has overcome a lot of personal challenges in his life. And I really, really admire that about him, how he's very tenacious. And even in the face of adversity that I think a lot of us would just give up in, you know, when some of the stuff that's happened to him, if that happened to me, I don't know how I would cope. He still keeps going. And so that's why this tattoo is a nursery stump or a nurse stump with a new plant growing out of it. So even when he's cut down, he still keeps growing. And the little heart that is like carved into the tree on the front, I got my dad to draw that for me. So that is actually his drawing. And then my artist traced it into the tattoo. So that's the only thing that I have that's kind of like script or kind of close to that. So yeah, that's my most recent tattoo. It's just getting to the point where it's mostly healed. It's not totally done healing. I will say when I show you guys this tattoo, I've had a discussion with my artist about this. So no knock to her. She's great. Like, zero complaints. But when she was tattooing me, there was a spot on one of the mushrooms where she said she was, you know, using a finer needle. And the issue she explained to me is that with these needles, it's really easy to go too deep and to cause a blowout or cause scarring or trauma to the skin in some other way. And so she's always cautious about going too deep. But, which is great. I'm glad she did that. But because that's the case, the ink didn't really stick super well in a couple spots. So when I show you guys the tattoo now as it's healing, I just want to say, we've talked about this already. She's aware. I have a touch-up appointment. And she's been incredibly gracious and so nice about it. She's offered to do it for free, which is crazy to me because her tattoos were only her tattoo touch-ups were only $20 anyway. So, you know, it was not necessary for her to offer to do that, but I think it just really shows her character and how good of an artist she is, how much she really cares about her work. And I wholeheartedly recommend her, and honestly all of the artists that I've had. I would say you would be in good hands getting tattooed by them. They all do a good job. I mean, I'm happy with all the tattoos that I have. That's all of my 9 tattoos. I mostly have plans to get more tattoos on my left arm and then one other tattoo under my right knee, but I don't have any immediate plans to get more tattoos. I think that I want to kind of like, you know, I spent 2022 getting a lot of tattoos really quickly, and not that that's necessarily a bad thing, it's just I had a lot of ideas, and now I'm kind of getting to the end of the pool of the ideas that I had initially when I first started getting tattooed in 2021. And so now I'm kind of like slowing down and stepping back and being like, okay, what do I actually want to like permanently put on my body? I think, you know, I want to see where my story goes, because that's the wonderful thing about tattoos. It kind of tells the story of your life and the spot that you were in at that particular time. And it's just a wonderful art form. And I'm so glad that I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford to get tattooed, because it has honestly really helped my self-confidence so much. Being able to get tattooed, it's made me feel a lot better about myself. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for sticking around with me and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of my tattoos. If you guys have any tattoos, or you have tattoos that you want to get, or you have any experiences with getting tattoos that you want to tell me about, tattoo regret, anything like that, let me know in the comments. I'll be poking around and responding to you guys. And yeah, thanks so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye.